Okay, so this is the second part in the demo series of ECS. So here we're gonna create the task definition. So click on create new task definition. It's going to be the EC2 type. Click on next. Then you can define a task definition name. Let's say Nginx test and the task role. So what is this task role? So this task role is required if your application which is running inside the ECS requires some permission to make calls to other AWS services. For example, if your application is writing the log to S3 bucket, then you need to have a task role which will give your containers which is running inside a task so to get sufficient API calls to the S3 service. So now for now, I don't have any task role, so I'm gonna leave it as blank. Now the default network mode is bridge. So I'm gonna choose the bridge networking mode here. So what it will do is so it will create a bridge between the EC2 networking and your task networking. So you can use the ports on your EC2 machine. Task execution role. So basically this task execution role is required to for your ECS agent to pull the container images and pushing the logs to CloudWatch. Okay. So it is gonna create automatically. Then you can define the task memory. Let's say 2048 memory. And I say mi task memory. I'm gonna click on simply 2048 and the task CPU units I'm gonna say is 1 vCPU, or you can simply define like 1 vCPU. Okay, so you see I'm assigning 2 GB, approximately 2 GB of memory and 1024 CPU units. Now I'm gonna click on add container where I'm gonna define my image. So I'm gonna use the Nginx column Alpine image. So what it will do is it is gonna pull this image from the Docker Hub repository. So if I go here, if I go to Docker Hub, okay, and if I search the Nginx Alpine, so you see here we have the tag for Alpine image as well. Okay, so we have a stable, we have 1.2 to 1.2 to 1 Alpine, and we have a simple Alpine tag as well. So I'm gonna use the Nginx Alpine image for this. Container name is Nginx. If you can define soft limit and hard limit, so basically soft limits are basically these are in MB. So basically this corresponds to the memory and the memory reservation parameter. So if you want to reserve any memory for your container, you can do that with your hard and soft limit. So soft limit, let's say 128 MB I want to reserve, and for host port, I want 80 to map to my container port 80 because Nginx runs on port 80. And command, and if you want to define a health check, you can define here. You can define intervals also, like how many intervals you want your command to perform, your container to perform the health check. So if you will scroll down, you can scroll down. So these options you can leave as it is for now. Okay. And yeah, you can, I want to enable the logging as well. So just click on auto configure CloudWatch log group. So it will create a log group and my containers will be logging to this particular CloudWatch log group. Okay. And here you can also get an option to define the command here. Yep. So you can define like this. I'm gonna define sleep 1000 seconds. So I'm gonna, because I don't want my container to get exit immediately as soon as it comes into running state. So I'm gonna put this command here, and rest value can leave as it is. So I'm gonna click on create. So now it has created my task definition, that is Nginx test. I'm gonna click on test cluster. So I'm gonna click on create. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a service which will be managing my tasks at one point of time. So service, as I told you, ECS service is used to managing your task and make sure that any like the number of desired tasks that you have defined, that number of tasks will always be running at one particular point of time. So click on EC2. The task definition I'm gonna choose is this one, Nginx test, which I just created. Revision is 1. Cluster is test cluster. Service name will be test-svc. Is going to be a replica, means yep. Daemon means every task, every on each. For example, if I have 6 ECS instances registered to this cluster. So on every instance, one task will be deployed automatically. But I don't want that. I'm going to create the number of, I'm going to choose replica here. I'm going to define the number of tasks as 2. Minimum healthy, maximum healthy can be 100 and 200. So basically these are values. If you're doing any ECS deployment, so these values will define how many tasks will be spin up before shutting down the old tasks. Deployment type is rolling update and leave everything as it is. If you want, you can integrate, you know, you can also integrate application load balancer here with your ECS service. But for this time, I'm not going to do that. Click on next, and then click on create service. Now click on view service. So it will take some time and then it's going to start spinning up the tasks. So come to details, go to your tasks. Now you see these tasks. Wow. So they already have been transitioned to running status. You see they are in the running status right now. So if I go to my cluster here, if I go click on the ECS instances, so you see both that instance has got one running task here, right? So if I click here, so you see approximately one CPU is being utilized by task and 2 GB of memory is being used by my task. So this is what I want and this is it. This is your task ID. You can simply click on task and you can see the task ID here. So Nginx Alpine is being running right now and the port 80 is being mapped to this particular port and this is the IP with which I can check. Okay. So I guess that's it for this demo now. I hope you understand how this works basically. And 2 tasks are coming to running state. Yep, that's it for this lecture. And this is all about the ECS introduction. Thank you.